I want to talk about the Sorites Paradox today. It can be explained through many examples, but most famous one is probably the heap of grains. Let's say there is a pile of rice grains in front of us. Clearly it is a heap. Now, if I take one grain away, does it still remain a heap? Most of us will say, yes, of course. One grain cannot destroy a heap. Then I take away another grain, still a heap? Yes. Another one, still yes. But if I keep doing this one grain at a time, eventually there will be only a few grains left. Then two, then one, and surely one grain of rice is not a heap. So the question is, at exactly what point did the heap stop being a heap? This is where the paradox begins. Different people may give different answers. Someone may say when it becomes less than 2 layers, it is no longer a heap. Someone else may say as long as the grains are gathered together, it is still a pile. Another person may say only when there is one grain left, it stops being a heap. Now, why do we have these differences? Because many words we use do not have exact borders. We do not always have mathematical definitions. We have a feeling. A visual idea. Words like heap, tall, old, rich, late, successful, serious, too much. These words work fine in ordinary life, but at the boundary, they become unclear. But I'm not really interested in the rice. I'm interested in what this paradox says about life. Because many things in life change like this, slowly, incrementally. One grain at a time. And because each change is small, we do not notice when the situation has become something completely else. Suppose your boss tells you, can you write this report today? Fine, that is work. A few minutes later, can you email me? Fine. Then can you also CC this person? Fine. Before sending, can you quickly check the grammar? Fine. Can you add a short summary at the top? Fine. Actually, can you turn it into a small presentation? Still, each request is small. None of them feel big enough to object to. But by the end, what began as one task has become a long list of chores. And because it happened grain by grain, you did not notice when the heap changed. This happens in relationships too. At the beginning, you may enter a relationship thinking, we like each other, we'll spend time together, maybe we'll see where it goes. But slowly, other things get attached to it. Expectations, family obligations, social roles, financial decisions, marriage, house, children, career compromises, emotional duties, identity. None of these arrives all at once. They come one by one. Each step seems natural because it is connected to the previous step. But if someone showed you the whole structure of the first day, the full weight of what this relationship may eventually demand, you might pause. You might ask, do I really want this life? But life rarely shows us the full heap at the beginning. It hands us one grain at a time. And the same thing happens with ideas. In fact, with ideas, it may be even more dangerous. A person does not usually wake up one morning and say, from today, I'll believe something extreme, dishonest, cowardly, cruel, or self-destructive. It happens more quietly. One exception, one rationalization, one softened definition, one tolerated contradiction, one silence, one loyalty, one just this time, one it's not that serious, one everybody does it, one technically it is still true, and slowly the original idea changes. This is where the Sorites Paradox becomes much deeper. It is not only about when a heap stops being heap, it is about when courage becomes recklessness, when patience becomes submission, when love becomes possession, when discipline becomes obsession, when faith becomes fanaticism, when loyalty becomes blindness, when compromise becomes self-erasure, when ambition becomes greed. The dangerous thing is that there is no clear alarm bell. No one says, at this exact moment, your reasonable idea has become in its own corruption. The name often remains the same, but the inner substance changes. A person may still call it love, truth, justice, sacrifice, success, loyalty, freedom, even after the moral content has shifted. Someone begins with, I want to be successful. Fair enough. Then success becomes financial security, then status, then comparison, then domination, then the need to be envied. But the person may still say, I'm just trying to succeed. Someone begins with, I should be loyal to my family. Then loyalty becomes silence. Silence becomes complicity. Complicity becomes participation in something wrong. Still, the person says, I'm just being loyal. Someone begins with, I should be open-minded. The open-mindedness becomes unwillingness to judge anything. That becomes moral paralysis, and eventually moral paralysis becomes hidden permission for harm. Still, the person says, I'm just being open-minded. That is the idea level Sorites effect. A noble idea does not always collapse by becoming its opposite suddenly. Sometimes it keeps the same name and slowly loses its original soul. So maybe the Sorites Paradox is not just a logical puzzle. It is a warning about threshold blindness. We notice explosions, we notice betrayals, we notice disasters, but we often fail to notice drift. And many serious transformations in life are not explosions, they're drifts. The question is not only at what point does a heap stop being a heap? The deeper question is, at what point does an idea stop being itself? At what point does love stop being love? At what point does duty stop being duty? Ambition stop being ambition? Compromise stop being wisdom and become surrender? Maybe we cannot always find the exact time, but we can notice the direction. So whenever you see a pattern forming, maybe pause and ask, if this continues, where will it take me? Do not only ask, is this one step acceptable? Ask, what is this step teaching me to accept next? Because we do not always lose ourselves in one dramatic decision. Sometimes we lose ourselves grain by grain. One permission, one silence, one compromise, one small surrender. And by the time we look back, the heap is gone.